Hello and welcome back, or welcome to. There's crap all over this. I don't even know how it got there. This is a really rocky start, to a probably incredibly rocky video. So, because I, like many, watched, Spider-Man No Way Home, I realized, they put Daredevil in the movie, albeit briefly, but they gave him the best scene. Okay, one of the best. The best was probably when Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man. Spoilers. When Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man saved MJ. That was good. That was really nice. Cried a little bit because that scene when I watched The Amazing Spider-Man or whatever it was. When I watched Spider-Man 2 with Andrew Garfield. Oh man, I was like, he's gonna save her, right? The entire time. He didn't. Needless to say, kinda ruined Spider-Man for me for a while. Anyway. I apologize for the noise. People are annoying. Anyway, so I watched Daredevil. It took me about 4 days to watch 3 seasons. I don't tell my parents this. I did actually skip class to watch Daredevil. Not really. Okay, I was like, if I don't go eat breakfast, I'll have time to watch Daredevil before 11 o'clock when class starts. I forgot what day it was. Class, in fact, started at 10 o'clock, so I missed my first class. So, I made that assumption before I watched the show, instead of going to class, because I didn't think I had to be at class. Not my brightest moment. I really like the show, and I was really surprised, and this would be a very bold statement, I think. It's better than any Marvel thing I've ever seen in my life. And I have been a fan of Marvel since I was like 10 years old? Definitely longer than that. Whenever Avengers came out, my parents forced me to watch it. I didn't want to. And I loved it. I was hooked instantly. In love with Chris Evans is what I was. And then I grew up and I fell in love with Thor instead. Anyway, no, it was more like I fell in love with Loki instead. Anyway, this is going to be long, so we're going to get right to the chase. I have notes about Daredevil because I love it that much. My phone cuts out my recording at about 30 minutes. I don't know why. I wish it wouldn't. Hopefully we won't go over that. Hopefully I will stop looking at myself in the camera. Yeah, so... Okay, these are kind of all over the place because of the way I wrote them. But we're going to start with the main character. As, one should always. Okay, so... Matt... Also, I'm just going to say, if you haven't seen Daredevil, you're not going to understand this. And if you want to watch Daredevil, spoilers, and if you have seen Daredevil and you are looking for some other deranged human being to talk about it with you, or if you don't care and you are just bored, or you're one of my friends who I sent this to inevitably, and you're just like, oh, I'll watch Laura's video to be nice to her. Seriously, Rebecca, if you're watching, if you really had any plans of watching this show, don't watch this. Watch this after you watch the show. If you don't, you won't have to watch the show if you watch this. But still, you probably should. Anyway, starting off. So, basic information about the show, just to recap, get us all in the right headspace. Matt Murdock is a blind lawyer who is secretly a masked vigilante who runs around the streets of New York beating up criminals in alleyways. Sounds oversimplified, but that's as simple as it gets, really. His whole backstory is that he pushed a guy out of the way of a car accident waiting to happen, and when he didn't get hit by a car or anything, but I guess the truck or the car or whatever had these chemical vats in it for some reason, and the chemicals spilled everywhere in the street and got in his eyes, blinding him. They're a really cool scene, because his dad is, like, over him, like, oh my god, my son is laying in the street. There's a car accident. He's freaking out, obviously, and you see this, like, the darkness creep over his eyes, and he starts screaming that he can't see. Anyway, really good. I love the opening of the show where he's talking to Father Lantom at church, and he's like, I'm asking for forgiveness, not for something that I have done, but for what I am about to do. And I was like, edgy much, but yeah, it's pretty good. Okay, so Matt, he has problems. He has severe abandonment issues, and that is even because Maggie is a nun slash terrible mother. Doesn't go together, but whatever. She told Karen, who's another... Well, you know what? I'm just assuming everybody knows what I'm talking about. She told Karen, basically unprompted. Karen was like, hey, have you seen Matt? I am gonna skip town because a dangerous criminal kinda wants my head on a stick. And Maggie was like, oh, you want to hear my life story and everything you ever wanted to know and more about your friend slash ex? No? I'm telling you anyway. So she did, and without Matt's consent at all. And when Karen was like, you're so mean to your mom, he's like, shut up. How do you... Anyway, so... Anyway, he has severe abandonment issues, and Maggie said to Karen, everyone in Matt's life has abandoned him, thus far, aside from Foggy and Karen, I guess, even though she tried. I don't like her. I'm just putting that out there. I hate her. Anyway, so, like, for example, Maggie abandoned him when he was a baby because of her mental health problems, and Jack died because he made a dumb decision that he thought was the right thing to do. It was not. Or, it was, maybe, but in the long run. Better to be a disgraced boxer than a dead boxer. So, Anyway, Jack died, Maggie left, to be a nun, of all things, and, Stick abandoned him when he thought he was too weak. Electra literally just ran away from an awkward and difficult situation because she was raised by Stick, and that's what he does. So, literally everybody in his life has dipped out somehow. So he has abandonment issues. He can't fully, comprehend that people actually care about him, which is why he never tells Foggy or Karen about his secret identity, because, well, he says he's protecting them in the episode Nelson v. Murdoch, when him and Foggy are actually having it out, and Foggy learns about Daredevil, because he happens to come to Matt's apartment drunk, I can't remember exactly. He comes to his apartment half-wasted and banging on the door like, Matt, where are you? Oh my god. And he walks in to find Matt half dead on the floor in Daredevil's outfit. So, kind of awkward situation. And then Matt tried to punch him in the face when he tried to call 911. So, also bad. But, anyway, he doesn't really understand that they actually care about him, so he tends to push them away, because he doesn't understand that they actually want to help him. And one of the things Foggy says to him is, he's like, I wouldn't have kept this from you. And he wouldn't have, if Foggy was secretly a mass vigilante. First person he told would be Matt. He'd be like, hey Matt, I did this thing, and I don't know if I can stop doing it, right? Instead, Matt was like, I'm never telling anybody about this. And he seems to forget that Foggy's his friend, because I don't know, it's not enough that they own a law firm together. Like, or known each other since college or anything. Like, he still doesn't trust him because he doesn't understand, because he thinks that he's gonna, I don't know, leave. I guess. Um, he has a lot of, like, pent up rage. He was very angry as a child, he just didn't have an outlet for it. His outlet is now Daredevil. Maybe that's unhealthy, and I don't know how many people actually cared to watch Defenders. I watched it. Anyway, it was alright. It was dumb. I feel like he just did. Matt, specifically, was like, yeah, let's blow up the building with people inside of it. They're the hands, so it's okay, they're evil. When, like, he has never done that. He has always been like, no, 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 I don't care how bad they are, I'm not gonna kill them. You know, he's always been like that, but he was like, it's okay if we blow these people up. And I was like, what? What? And then he stays behind, knowing full well he's probably gonna die, to save Elektra from what exactly? If you ask me, she deserved to get a building blown up on top of her. She kind of sucks. Anyway. I said this, but he hates Stick, who's this, I'll get into him later, but Stick, he hates him because he left him for, like, no real reason. Like, he was like, oh, hey, Stick, since you're, like, the only kind of stability and father figure I have in my life, here's this bracelet I made you, because we are friends. And Stick was like, you're a pussy, and left. um, so, yeah, that was fun. And Stick's got this whole war spiel with the hand and Black Sky and all that. And, like, you know, Matt doesn't buy into that. Every time Stick talks about it, he rolls his eyes. Well, or he would if his eyes worked. He just sort of goes, I don't care. I don't care about this. I'm not helping you. I hate you. You left me. I was just a kid. I didn't deserve that. So yeah, he is still very much in love with Elektra. In denial. Very in denial about that one. Every time she comes up, he's like, oh yeah, we used to date, or he doesn't say anything until Jessica Jones yells at him, and is like, you better say something right now. Say more right now, or I'm gonna punch you in the face. I don't care that you're blind. So, he only talks about it when he's, like, forced to. And he's like, yeah, she's my ex. Matt. Just because she's your ex doesn't mean that. Anyway. So, he's in denial with that. So the thing about Matt is he is Catholic, which is usually a recipe for disaster, but in this particular case, he sort of believes that, like, what he's doing is God's work or something, or he thinks that this is the will of God or something. It's sort of weird. He doesn't ever really say that, but he doesn't not say it either. He, is very devout. He goes to church, goes to confession. His best friend and the only person he really ever trusts with anything is a priest, and, like, it's just, I don't know. He knows that what he's doing, assault and battery, is wrong, but he doesn't, so he goes to confession constantly. And poor Father Lantom is like, your life would be so much easier if you just, like, stopped doing that. And he's like, no, I think I'm going to keep doing it. He lost faith in the law because he could hear, because, okay, he has incredibly heightened senses because Stick trained him and because of the accident, something, I don't know. But he just found out this guy was molesting his daughter, and so he called CPS, like he was supposed to, like the law demands. And the mom didn't believe it. And so that went nowhere. And he could not stand it because he knew what was happening to this poor child and he couldn't do anything to save her. So what does he do? He finds out where her dad works and beats the ever-loving crap out of him and tells him, I think the quote is, "If you touch your daughter again, trust that I will know, and I will come for you." And, well, it never happens again. I think I'd be scared pretty shitless if it happened to me, so I don't think I would do that again either. Yeah, so, and he told Foggy this, and he was like, look, I tried to do it the right way. It didn't work, you know? So, it just, anyway. This disconnect, understanding that the law isn't always going to be good enough, is what allows him to actually hurt people and do the things that he does. He does go through a period of time in season 3, after a building falls on him and Elektra dies again. He sort of thinks that God is not on his side. Oh, I know why. It's because Wilson Fisk stops being in prison, and after everything he did to get him in prison, risking life and limb, not just his, but everybody he knew, and all kinds of stuff, and doing these, and just these awful things that he had to go through to put up with this man and get him out, get him in prison. Now he's getting out of prison. He freaking lost it. He was like, God hates me. I can't believe this. And Maggie was like, oh, so you don't believe in God anymore? Is that it? And he's like, no, I believe in God. I just believe that he's a jerk. And he hates me, and he's definitely laughing. And, when that happens, he starts to realize that maybe Frank Castle was right. And that sometimes the law, or that getting people by the law isn't enough. You know, he makes sure that people end up in prison, even if, or, you know, that they stop doing whatever they're doing. But the people he does actually put away come back. Like Turk, that guy was pretty harmless. But he got out of prison and time again after Matt put him there. Possibly because Luke Cage didn't do anything about it when it was his turn to put Turk in jail, but whatever. He loses faith in God, and he decides that, you know, maybe murder is okay. Foggy helps him, but he sort of goes through this whole, like, thing. And, you know, Maggie convinces him to wear this little crucifix necklace thing, just as, like, a sort of thing, and that tethers him to God and the people in his life and her. But when he finds out who she really is to him, and that his entire life she had been lying to him, he kinda stops and gives up. So, he has a lot of faith in people, though. You know, he goes through great lengths for people who may not always deserve it, like Grotto, for example, the Irish guy. You know, he does everything in his freaking power to make sure this guy doesn't end up dead. Not even really because he has super valuable information, just because he doesn't deserve to die. But Frank Castle, the Punisher, definitely is convinced that this guy deserves to get shot in the head. So yeah. He gets in bad situations because he feels he has to fix everything. That's also another thing. You know, like with Grotto, again, he thinks that this is going to be... He has to make sure that if Grotto gets, you know, punished, it's going to be lawfully. But, that isn't going to work for Frank. He abandons his friends because he thinks that he's keeping them safe, but in reality, he's trying to make sure he doesn't have any attachments so that he can do things that would get him hurt, but he thinks that if he's not in their lives, they won't give a shit about him. But little does he know, they're always in the same mess he's in, right? Because Karen cannot keep her dang nose out of anything, and Foggy cannot mind his own business long enough to not talk to Karen, and she can't leave him alone, so they end up putting Matt in bad positions. Okay, this is 20 minutes long, so I think this is just going to be part 1. I have a lot of notes, a lot. So that was Matt. We'll move on to secondary people in the next video. Goodbye.